Have you ever gone through a roller coaster of emotions after losing a loved one? Like Terry Irwin says, grief is never something you get over. It's something that walks beside you every day. I ask this question because not everyone understands there's different stages of grief and everyone handles them differently. My name is Madison Jimenez, and exactly 1 year ago today, I unexpectedly lost my little brother. As I had to learn the stages of grief while helping my little ones understand grief as well. As we explore the topics of grief together, I hope you find several takeaways to understand all these emotions. Grief is a journey that is different for everyone, so let's get into it. What is grief? Grief is something that happens out of nowhere. It happens at any time of the day. Like a fact from the Training Academy, grief is normal, natural, and a painful emotional reaction to loss. Grief involves intense feeling. I was recently reading about grief and came across this 2002 book written by Morgan Oliver, The Tears That Taught Me. It really opened up an understanding of different varieties of grieving and how to understand it. To understand the way of grief is quite complicated. It's a never-ending cycle of emotions. Like an article I recently read from 2017 in the News Health, it said, losing someone you love can change your whole world. The death of a loved one can affect how you feel, how you act, and what you think. There are stages of grief that we go through, and some don't even realize it. There are 5 stages of grief that we go through, and some may not even know how to get through all 5 stages. Sometimes we may get stuck at one stage, but understanding all 5 stages can help you in your healing process. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I want you to think about where you are in your grieving process. In a recent survey per WebMD, The Grief Experience, nearly 86% have some type of emotional symptom with grieving, and 2/3 had some type of physical emotional symptom with grieving. I'm still in the stage of grief every day, and every day is a little bit different. In another article that I read by Harvard Health Publishing in December of 2023, it states, grief is an unfortunate, inevitable part of life. And I think we can all agree that we know death is going to happen eventually, but something that we don't wish to happen, at least early in life. We tend to question ourselves with death, when death happens, with the what ifs. I should have been there. I should have done this. I should have tried harder. But we can't continue to live in the past. There are memories that we have with our loved ones that we just need to cherish and continue to live by those memories. That's all we have left. There's a book written by Kubler-Ross and David. They explain the 5 stages of grief. It was published in September of 2012. It's called On Grief and Grieving. She explains all 5 stages of grief and how to cope with them, because not everybody copes and handles grief the same way. There's many different ways to grieve. For myself, it was staying busy. I used to stay busy all the time to try and hide my grief, but I only came to the realization that it made it harder for me to accept the fact that I lost my brother. So I had to embrace that. Let me share a little story with you about how my kids handle grief. My eldest, she writes in her journal every day and talks about him, shares her daily activities with him. My son, he listens to music they used to share together and looks at pictures. My littlest, she talks to his pictures every day. That's how they handle their grief. And I had to let them embrace how they handle their grief, because I had to learn to embrace my own grief. I didn't understand or know that there was different ways of handling grief until now. In the end, grieving is a deep, personal, and very unique journey that we experience in our own way. Understanding what grief is, going through the different stages, and remembering that everyone grieves in different ways. Researchers show that the intensity and duration of grief can differ. Let me share a brief story that encapsulates the journey of grief. When my brother passed away, it was the hardest day of my life, but I had to learn to cope with it. So I leave you with this. It's a quote by Vicky Harrison. Grief is like the ocean. It comes in waves and flowing sometimes in the water. Sometimes the water is calm and sometimes it's overwhelming. But all we can do is learn to swim. Thank you.